Hi everyone, it's me Terry of the Yarn Joy podcast. Welcome back to another tutorial. In today's tutorial we're going to do part 4 of the Stripes-A-Slant throw, and this will be the completion of this pattern. Okay, so in today's video all we have to do now left of this blanket is the side borders and the outer top and bottom borders. So let's get started with the side borders. Now I have done one side so that way you can kind of see what it's going to look like. You're going to need color A and color C. For me it was the spring green and the yellow. And so we're going to do, there's 4 rows. Let me check that. No, there's 3 rows in this side border, okay? So that's what it's going to look like. It's going to have a crab stitch on the edge, okay? So let's go ahead. I'm going to flip my blanket around to the other side, and we will get started with the side border. For the side borders, we're going to be working on the long ends of our blanket. These were the top and bottom borders, the short ends that we did for tutorial number 3 for this blanket, okay? So we want the right side up showing, okay? And you want to grab color A. So for me, color A is this spring green. So let me pull out a section of that. Okay, I'm going to attach it to my hook with a slip knot. Leave a tail there to weave in at the end or when you're finished. Okay, and it says with right side facing, join A to the top of the side edge of the piece. So you want to go all the way to the very edge here, which was the last row of your the borders for your short ends. And you want to find the last double crochet there around the edge, and we're just going to join right there at the top of that stitch with a slip stitch. Now we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to start out working half double crochets until we get to this chain 2 corner right here, okay? So we're going to work 2 half double crochets on the side of each of the row all the way until we get to this, the chain 2, yeah. So I'm going to do just like what we've been doing. I'm going to do 2 half double crochets around these edge stitches. So half double crochets, 1, 2, and it should be, remember we did 2 rows per color, so you'll have 4 of these half double crochets for each of your stripes, okay? Not counting that first one that we did, which was the chain 2. So 2 half double crochets around the next end stitch, 2 half double crochets. Okay, so we're going to work all the way down 2 half double crochets around each of these end stitches all the way until we get to this chain 2 corner down here. Okay, I'm getting really close to this corner. I've got 2 more half double crochets to go around this last edge stitch here. 1, 2. Okay, now we are to that chain 2 corner that was on this round. And we're going to do 2 half double crochets into that corner hole. 1, 2. Okay, now we're going to change to double crochets, and we're going to work 1 double crochet in between each double crochet. Okay, so we're going to work double crochets now. There's the first 2 right there. We're going to go right between them and do 1 double crochet. Just like that. And then right between the next 2 double crochets. Do a double crochet between the next 2. Just like that. 1 double crochet in between them. I need more yarn. Oops. Okay, so we're going to continue doing this until we get to the other side border. So let me show you that. I'm going to work all the way down my blanket, all the way to the other end. Let me find that. Okay, so when we get to this other border, okay, so we're going to work 1 double crochet in between each of these double crochets until we get to that corner space right there, and then I will meet you there, okay, because then we will go back to doing half double crochets from here all the way to the end. But I'm going to go across mine and with the double crochets, and then when I get to this corner right there, that chain 2 corner space, then I will meet you up there. I'm coming up to the chain 2 corner here. I just have a couple more double crochets to go. So double crochet in between the double crochets. 1, and then here comes the next one, these 2. So 1 double crochet between those 2 stitches. Okay, so now I'm at the chain 2 corner. That's where we went around this way before we put these top and bottom borders on. So now we're going to go back to half double crochets, and then we're going to work down that edge. So 2 half double crochets into this chain 2 corner, 1 and 2, okay, and then just like before, we're going to do 2 half double crochets around these edge stitches. So you'll have 4, you know, because there's 2 rows of color, so you'll have 4 for each stripe. So find the edge stitch there of that, the first row of that border, and do 2 half double crochets around them. 1, 2, okay, and then here's the next row. Find the edge, that edge stitch, and do 2 half double crochets around that. Okay, so we're going to do that into each of these edge stitches. 2, okay, and then 2 in the next one. 1, 2, okay, so now we're at the next stripe. 2 half double crochets, 1, 2, and then this stripe, 2 half double crochets, 1, 2, not stripe, but that row. And then now we're on this, for me it's this purple stripe, and there's 2 rows, so 2 half double crochets around the first row of that stripe, and then 2 half double crochets around the next row of that stripe. Okay, so now we have our last stripe here, and remember there's 2 rows per stripe. So let's see, let's find that edge stitch around the first row is right there. So 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2, and then we'll do 2 half double crochets around this very last row, the edge stitch, 1 and 2, and then we're going to work 1 half double crochet right in the edge or top of this, for the side, the top the side of the top stitch right there on the edge. Okay, we're going to do 1 more half double crochet. Okay, so that completes our row 1 of the side edge. So now we're going to fasten off and cut our yarn because we are finished with that color for now. So I've got my scissors here. I'm going to leave a tail so then I can weave it in. Okay, and then I'm just going to chain 1 and then pull my yarn, just pull my yarn through to fasten off. So for row 2, we are going to use this next color, which is color C. For me, it's this yellow. And it says at the end of where we fastened off this color, it says, do not turn your work. You're just going to go back to the beginning of this row, but you're not going to turn the work. Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the beginning of my blanket of this side border. Okay, where we joined color A. See, there's the tail. And I'm going to join color C. So I've got color C, which is this yellow for me, and I'm going to attach it to my hook with slip knot. We find our first stitch where we joined. That was a chain 2 in the beginning of this row, right? So I'm going to join my yarn with the slip stitch in the top of that chain 2, just with a slip stitch. Now it says to join to chain 2, but then you're going to do single crochets across. So I'm going to just chain 1 because that's the equivalent of a single crochet. And then in that same stitch, okay, in the top of that chain 2, because that was equivalent to a stitch, I'm going to go right back in there and I'm going to do a single crochet. Okay, because we want the same number of stitches across our edge here. And then all it says is do 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way across. So we'll do a single crochet in all the half double crochets that we made. And then when we get over here where we changed and it was doing double crochets, we're doing single crochets all the way through that as well. 1 single crochet in each stitch. Okay. So I'm going to work down my side here, and when I get to, well, when I get to the end of this row, I will meet you up there. I'm coming up on the end of my row of single crochets. So let's get to the end here. I've got 2 more. Now that I'm at the end of this row, I'm ready to go on to the row 3, which is actually the last row of this side border. Okay, now it says, do not turn your work, and you're not going to fasten off. We're going to continue on with this color, the same color, and it says to chain 2, sorry, chain 2, 1 and 2. Okay, now we're going to do a reversed single crochet all the way back down this row that we just finished of single crochets. And so the way we do this is also called the crab stitch. Okay, it's a little, if you haven't done it before, it's a little awkward of a stitch, but and if you prefer not to do it, you could always just do another row of single crochets, you know, down this side. Okay, so in order to do this, you do chain 2, like what we've already done, and then now instead of going forward like we usually do, we're going to work our way backward down this row. So after our chain 2, we're going to go into this stitch. I like to kind of hold on to that chain 2, and I want to just go into the stitch that we just completed, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, and then finish that stitch with a regular single crochet. It's kind of awkward, but I think you get used to it. Okay, so now we're going to go into the next stitch, which was second to the last of this row, and we're going to do the same thing. So I kind of like to hold my work, kind of hold it between my thumb and finger, and then go into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then just finish our single crochet, just like that. Okay, now go to the next stitch back, do the same thing. Yarn over, pull through 2. Go to the next stitch. Okay. See how the edge has got this little twist looking finish to it? Okay. Now I'm going to, oop, wrong direction. Zoom you out just a little bit here. Okay, so we're going to go into the next stitch working backwards, right? And do a single crochet. And the next stitch back, single crochet. Okay, so just do this all the way across. After you do it a few times, it gets easier, I think. Kind of get into a rhythm of doing it. So keep doing that stitch. You're going to do that all the way until we get to the end, which was the actual beginning of this row. And I will meet you up there, okay? And then we'll finish off. I'm now coming to the end of my reverse single crochet row. I've got one more stitch here to do that reverse single crochet. So I'm going to hold my work between my thumb and middle finger to keep it out of the way. And then I'm going to go into the last stitch and do my single crochet, just like that. And now I am at the end of the row. So now I'm just going to fasten off. So I'm going to leave myself a tail and cut the yarn, and then take my hook and do like a chain 1, but then I'm going to just pull my yarn through to fasten it off. So that completes row 3 of the side border. Now you need to go back to the beginning of the video and rewatch this section again and do the side border for the opposite side of your blanket, which is the long side of your rectangle. So both sides will look like this. And then after you do that, when you're ready, then you will come back to this spot. I will put a banner down below the screen here. I mean, on the screen, but at the bottom of the screen, and it will say outer, top, and bottom borders, and then we will do those, and that will be finishing up our blanket. Once you have crocheted both of your side borders, it's time to finish this blanket up by now crocheting the outer, top, and bottom borders. I did put a banner at the bottom of the screen that says outer, top, and bottom borders, so you can find it when you're coming back to this, and you can also find it after you do one end and then have to do the other one. Okay, so for the outer, top, and bottom borders, you have 2 rows only, and you're going to need color F and color B. I had to look. So yeah, color F is what we're going to start with first. And so I'm going to take my color F. For me, it's my white, and I'm going to attach it to my hook with a slip knot, leaving a little tail so I can weave it in later. And I'm going to take my we're working on the short ends. With right side facing, we're going to join our color F to the very end stitch of our reverse single crochets that we did. So remember this outer color that we did, which was color C on our side borders. There was 2 rows of it, and so we're going to put 2. We are working, let me check this. We are working half double crochets, and we're going to do 2 half double crochets at the end of this color stripe. And then we need to do 2 half double crochets at the end of this, for me it's green, which was color A. Okay, so I'm going to take my yarn, go into the very edge of my blanket, which was in the reverse single crochet stitch, doing a slip knot to attach our yarn. And then I'm going to chain 2. And this chain 2 is going to act like a half double crochet. Okay. It's going to count as a half double crochet. Now I'm going to do another half double crochet into the end of this the first row of it, which was just a row of single crochets, and I'm going to do a half double crochet around that edge stitch of that row. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this row A that we did, which was the first row of our side border. And I'm going to do 2 half double crochets around that edge stitch, 1 and 2, like that. Okay. And then now we're going to work all the way across, and what we're going to do is we're going to work 2 half double crochets in between the groups of 2 double crochets that we did on this row. So the first one we're going to do is we're going to skip over this hole right there. We're going to go into this first one. That's a double crochet. So we're going to go into the next one right before this group of 2. So you stretch them apart and you can see the two sets of 2 stitches. So I'm going to do 2 half double crochets right in that space right before those first 2. And then I'm gonna repeat that all the way across this side by doing 2 half double crochets in between the sets of 2 stitches all the way across. So I'm gonna work my way across this edge, and when I get to the end of this row, I will meet up with you and we will finish the row together. I'm now finishing up this row of 2 half double crochets between the sets of 2 stitches in the previous round. And so I have 2 half double crochets to put here. And then I want to put 2 half double crochets at the end of, around the end stitch of this side border. I had to join more yarn, that's why there's a knot there. So 2 half double crochets there, and then 2 half double crochets, 1 in each of the rows of this very end of the side border. If I can get my hook in there. Okay, half double crochet, and then a half double crochet on the very edge, which is the reverse single crochets. Okay. So now I'm finished this row, and now I'm going to cut my yarn and fasten off, leaving a little tail. Chain 1, and then pull my hook through to finish it off. Okay, and at the end, for the last and final row, it says do not turn, so I'm just going to shift my blanket back and go to the beginning of this row. Got my yarn. Right here, I'm going to be using color B. For me, it's this light purple. And I'm going to attach my yarn with a slip knot to my hook. And then I'm going to slip stitch. I'll be joining. So I'm joining with a slip stitch into the top of that chain 2, which was at the beginning of our row. And then I'm going to go right back into that stitch, and I'm going to do a single crochet. Now the pattern says to chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then I'm going to single crochet into the next stitch, just like that. And then I'm going to repeat that all the way across. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3. There's my yarn. 4, 5, 6. Single crochet into the next stitch. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Single crochet into the next stitch. So I'm just going to do that all the way across my blanket, all the way to the end, and then when I single crochet into the very last stitch of this row, then I'm just going to cut my yarn and finish it off by chaining 1 and then pulling my hook through, just like I've been doing. And that completes the row, this border. Let me go ahead and flip the blanket around so you can see what this end border looks like. So when you finish this row, then you need to do the same thing, these 2 rows to the opposite end of this blanket to get your other border finished that's on the short side of the blanket. So let me turn the blanket around so you can see what this is going to be looking like. There goes my yarn ball. Okay. So here's what the edges look. This is what the border looks like. It's just kind of got a ruffled edge to it. And if you and then of course the side borders has the reverse single crochet. So I was thinking also that if you didn't like this ruffled edge, that you could also, when you got finished with the previous row of these 2 half double crochets, when you got finished at the very end, you could change colors and then do a reverse single crochet back down the row, and then the edge would look more like this one, and it would look like this edge all the way around. Otherwise, this is how the pattern has, is where the top and the bottom ends have this fringed edge, and the sides have the reverse crab stitch or the reverse single crochet. Now, the row previous to this, the one that I did in white, which was row 1 of this outer border, I did alter it a little bit from what it said in the written pattern, because it was I don't know if there was an error in, or like a typo or error in the instructions, but it was very hard to understand what they, for me, what they wanted me to do. And so I just decided to do it this way, with half double crochets in between the grouping of 2 stitches, because when I did it the way I thought they wanted me to do it, the blanket was bunching up and it wasn't laying flat, and so I just decided to do that row that way. So I hope that's okay with you all, that I changed the pattern for that one row. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much for following this. Now, like I said, I will put a banner, just go back to the banner that says the top and the outer top and bottom borders, for you to find that where to start the video again to get the opposite end border done, if you need help doing that. And so, yeah, thank you so much. Be sure to post pictures in the Facebook group page, or you can email me a picture. My email is in the description box down below in the description box. And if you don't mind, I would love to be able to share some of your finished blanket pictures in future videos on my channel. I would love to be able to do that. So thank you so much for following along with this 4-part tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and come back and we'll do other projects in the future. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.